Hello and welcome to Cyber Life. My name is Ken Underhill, your host. In today's episode, we continue on with another hacker. This is a professional hacker named Davin Jackson. Davin's worked a number of years as what we call a penetration tester, or pen tester for short, and he has a variety of experience in technology. Davin, how'd you get interested in cybersecurity?
So I've always liked the challenge of cybersecurity. As far back as I can remember, when I used to stay with my grandmother, I used to tinker around with stuff, and she used to let me and encourage me to do it as long as I was able to put it back together again because I didn't want to break anything in her house. But like I said, I really wanted to get into it. I always had like a interest in tech. Um, Unfortunately, it took me a long way to get back around to it after I went into high school and graduated and went into the military and stuff. And then when I came home, there weren't any fighter jets in the civilian world that I could work on as an aircraft mechanic. So I tried a bunch of different things. I worked in retail, I worked in warehouses. I tried electrical for a little while. And I think the last thing that happened is I actually fell off of a 25-foot extension ladder. And I remember falling down, getting up, realizing that I can walk, and I walked off the job site because it was like that I didn't want that to happen again. And I actually give a lot of credit to my wife because at that time, I was really depressed. I didn't know what I was going to do. We had just had our daughter. And she really just kind of put her foot in my behind and was like, listen, what is it that you want to do? What would you be happy doing? So I really started looking back into tech. And as I gradually moved through my career in tech, I started to really gaining interest in cybersecurity. And once I started doing that, I was working for a school system, doing a lot of stuff on the blue side or the defensive side, and was honestly just tired of being reactive instead of proactive. So I started researching, how to make sure our stuff was well protected so the bad guys wouldn't get in, or in this case, students with a phone and the low orbit ion cannon installed on their phones. So I started looking at vulnerability assessments and naturally gravitated towards penetration testing. And it's just kind of been history ever since. I started messing around with it. Everything just seemed to click for me. And then, like I said, the challenge of trying to get in to a system, trying to get root, knowing that you can get root today and that someone can patch it tomorrow and it might not work, but you might have to go back and do it again. All of that just really intrigues me and it just kind of keeps my brain going. So, I got to do something that I felt was challenging, something that I enjoy. And like I said, the rest is history.
Excellent. So thanks for sharing your story. And again, we never want to make grandma mad by breaking her things and not putting them back together again. Davin, I want to ask you, if someone's interested in cybersecurity, what should they learn?
Well, the first thing I usually tell anybody who I mentor or that I talk to is to really understand why you want to do it. Um, you know, Over the last, 5, 6 years or so, cybersecurity and hacking or penetration testing has become sexy. And, with shows like Mr. Robot, which I love the show, it really brought a spotlight onto, the job. So you have a lot of people who either hear that or hear that there's a gap and that it pays well. And they use that as their reason to jump into it. So the first thing I usually tell people is figure out your why, um, because that why is going to be what keeps you going when it's not all fun and sometimes the money's not worth it and everything. So, what's your driving factor, which, and it has to, whatever it is, it has to be something usually other than I can make a bunch of money or I think hacking is cool. Um, because unfortunately, real life penetration test is nothing like you see on TV or movies. And then once you do that, do your research. Like I said, cybersecurity is a big field. Cybersecurity, there's red team, blue team, purple team. I mean, there's cybersecurity jobs that really require really no technical hands-on stuff at all, with some of the documentation and stuff like that. So, research what it is you want to do, because you're going to be investing a lot of time and a lot of energy into growing your career. For the hacking side of things, I'm a little different. So I come from, a background where, you know, didn't have a lot of resources, didn't have a lot of money. So some people will say, oh yeah, run out and go get this certification, or run out and go to SANS, or run out and get your OSCP. And, those are all great certifications and great resources and great courses to take, but they're also somewhat expensive. I don't know about a lot of people, but I don't have $7,000 for a SANS course. So I typically tell people, you can grab a few books. I know a lot of people say it's dated, but I still think it's a great resource. Georgia Weidman's book, that on the basics penetration testing. A new one just came out, hands-on hacking. I believe I have it right here behind me. There's a lot of different books you can pick up. Google, YouTube, you can get a lot of information there before you spend a dollar, before you spend a dime. You can go on Udemy. There's a lot of great courses on Udemy that you can utilize to gain that knowledge. And then once you do that, while you're saving up your money, then get a couple certifications to get your foot in the door. Get your certified ethical hacker certification. InfoSec Institute has the certified penetration tester through IACRB. Grab a couple of those to kind of help build your resume while you're gaining that knowledge. And then once you get a couple of those certifications, you really don't have to spend too much money, because then you can build out your own home lab and get that hands-on experience. So you have the certifications. Now you're building the technical knowledge and the hands-on experience that will help you get through those technical interviews. So the CEH is a great baseline certification to have, same thing with Security Plus. And then as you advance, you can get your Pen Test Plus or your OSCP, but you have those baseline certifications lined up. You have the knowledge from all these other resources that are a lot more affordable than going through, like, some of the larger boot camps. And now you have a home lab where you can practice every day. You can bring up a virtual machine or a Docker machine. You can hack away using Kali Linux or Parrot or whatever your distribution choice is. VulnHub has a bunch of vulnerable machines you can download for your home lab. You can go on websites like Hack the Box or Try Hack Me. There's a pen tester lab, pen tester academy, practical pen test labs. Yeah, some of them there are costs, and then there's some of them that are free. But like I said, you can gain all this technical experience. So now, once you get into the field with those certifications you have as the baseline, and then you have the hands-on, you have what you need to start your career. And then as you start making money, then you can start getting more, taking some of the OSCP courses or the SANS courses. Also, when you get a job, a lot of companies, they want you to get these certifications. They want you to keep getting this knowledge. So they'll pay for it, or they'll reimburse you, or they'll go half, or whatever it is you can negotiate or work out. So that's usually the roadmap I give people in a nutshell. So,
wow, that's some great information. How can somebody figure out exactly what they want to do in cybersecurity, since there's so many different jobs they could do?
Google, YouTube, Reddit, and Twitter. You can, there's literally videos. I saw one the other day that was like a day in the life of an ethical hacker. And, they go through the whole process of, going through a pen test, writing the report or whatever. But like I said, you can use any of those and just ask questions. I'm late to the game when it comes to Twitter. When I first started, they tell you to find a mentor, and I reached out to a few people, and a lot of them didn't respond, whether they were just too busy or they just ignored me. I don't know. But I really use that as basically like my driving force. Like like the Michael Jordan documentary where he just took everything personally and was just like, all right, now I'm just gonna go drop 40. I'm just gonna drop 50 because you said something that I didn't like. That's what I actually used to build up, build myself when I didn't get those responses. So I didn't really discover YouTube, not YouTube, Twitter, and how resourceful it could be until maybe about 2 years ago, or a year or two ago. And if you find the right people, you ask the right questions, they're definitely very helpful. I always tell people, make sure before you ask somebody for help, make sure you've kind of exhausted those other resources. Don't ask a question that can be answered on the first page of Google. You know, if I can find the answer from the first page of Google, then you should have been able to. But yeah, I would just say do your research. There's like I said, there's a lot of courses. I, for one, like I said, as much as I love ethical hacking, I think I love cyber forensics just as much, if not, a little bit more sometimes. Um, but like I said, I reached out to a couple people. Luckily, I knew a guy who I kind of came up with who worked for the FBI and did cyber forensics. My mom worked at the police department and she knew the cyber forensics guy from another department. So I was able to kind of reach out to them and literally, sit with them and pick their brains for a while and to really understand that how much I really enjoyed it. One of these days I might get back into it, but like I said, I still really enjoy what I'm doing with pen testing. So I would definitely, like I said, there's resources all around you and you're probably using one every day. So I would definitely use that first and then, develop a Twitter page, and, put yourself out there.
Davin, you have a new company that you've started recently. Can you tell us a little more about that new company?
Alpha Cybersecurity, that is my company. Right now, it's mainly just a platform for resource sharing. So I have the blog, which I try to write as much as I can, a few times a month on different topics, whether it's prepping for a certification or doing some things on like a how-to guide. So I just did a couple on how to build a virtual box environment and how to install Kali Linux, how to make sure you secure your Kali Linux. I do a lot of hands-on stuff like that. Like I said, I also just a lot of personal articles or blog posts that are related to cybersecurity or just some of my experiences. And I did that with the thought in mind of me remembering what it was like looking for those resources or looking for that help from a mentor. And, as I progress in my career, obviously I realize that, I'm really busy. So I created this resource where you might not hear it from me verbally, but you have it right here. You have like a one-stop shop where you can go. And then the YouTube is basically very similar, where I do some of the hands-on stuff that you can read. So you can actually read the article and then watch it and follow through if you run into any issues. Occasionally, I go live, so we can go through the steps together if you have any questions. And recently, I actually just launched YouTube. I guess it's a YouTube show, and it'll end up actually being a podcast as well, called InfoSec Unplugged, where I speak to other people in the field. And I really want to focus not only on some of the technical stuff, but sort of a conversation like we're having now, how you got into the field, but also, how do you deal with certain things that you don't always hear about, some of the, not popular things to talk about, like, imposter syndrome, or, how to deal with, certain nonsense, or just even falling when you hit a wall studying. I want to have just real, genuine, real conversations around the field, because again, it's great to know the technical side, but I also want anybody who's coming into the field to realize, listen, it's not all sunshines and rainbows. It's not all unicorns and root shells. It's, it can be a grind sometimes. And you know, and I open it up to everybody in infosec or tech, whether you have 30 years of experience or you literally just looked on Google about what the cybersecurity field is. I want to talk to everybody, and it's gonna be it's unrehearsed. We're just gonna go. So that will be launching every Thursday at 6. Like I said, it'll go live, and then I'll also upload it to YouTube, but it'll be on YouTube and Twitch and Periscope to start out. Um, and that's pretty much, like I said, that's pretty much what I got. So I got the blog and I got the YouTube channel. And like I said, there might be some other things coming, knock on wood, but it's too early to discuss, and I'm still kind of working out the kinks.
Excellent. So be sure to check out his podcast as well as his YouTube channel. Davin, I wanted to ask you, do you have any final thoughts for the audience?
So I usually end every Twitter post or Instagram or whatever with always bet on yourself, and do the work. Like I said, this field is not always the easiest to deal with. And sometimes, whether it's in the infosec field or even outside, you'll find that you're your only cheerleader. I remember when I said I was going to buckle down and I really wanted to focus on my studies. Sometimes it got to be a very lonely feeling, friends and family or who don't really know what the grind is like to kind of, elevate your career, you know, don't understand. And it's not their fault, but, they tend to pull away or have negative thoughts towards it. So, believing in what you want to do, remembering your why, and, like I said, always betting on yourself. Cause like I said, sometimes you're your loudest cheerleader. So as long as you do that and you put in the work, trust me, everything will come. If you bet on yourself and you put in the work, because like I said, cybersecurity that or tech in general, you can't get complacent. The moment you get complacent, this field will figure it out, and you're off to the races somewhere else. So you do the work and bet on yourself. And like I said, if you have those two things, you already got the foundation to really succeed.
In today's episode, we spoke with Davin Jackson, who's a professional hacker. If you're interested in checking out more about hacking, you can go to cyberlife.tv. You can also follow us on YouTube at CyberLife TV, follow us on LinkedIn, as well as Instagram and Twitter.